Hey guys, welcome back to Framed Up. I'm Matt Hernandez, and I just got my new camera, the Sony a7R 5. I'm really excited about it, and I thought I would share the unboxing with you today. All right, so I want to go over why I got it real quick. There were a couple of specific reasons. The first one, a lot of you probably know this, I shot Nikon for the first 10 years of my career, and I switched to Sony about a year and a half ago. I just liked the direction they were going with their cameras. They seemed like they were coming out with everything first, and I don't know, really ahead of everybody else. So I thought that was the brand I needed to go with, and I've shot with their cameras a couple times, really loved them, and haven't looked back. So when I was with Nikon, I always had at least 2 bodies, sometimes 3 or 4. And that's one thing that I always tell people is that you've got to have a backup, because if you're on a shoot, I've had this happen where I actually had my strap break and my camera in my 70-200, I think it was a Nikon D3S at the time, fell off, and it detached, fell off, and the metal actually wore all the way thin and fell off onto the concrete and broke in the middle of the shoot. Had I not had a second body, that shoot would have been over. So it's good to always have a backup, and you don't want, it doesn't have to be the same camera, but you don't want too big of a drop off in quality or anything like that. So I shoot with the Sony A1, and this, there's a lot of things that are similar. They're not exactly the same, obviously, but it's close enough that, you know, there's not gonna be, it actually has more megapixels, so, you know, it's actually maybe a little bit better quality. So I thought it was the perfect one to go with. I was waiting for the right time, and I had a feeling this camera or the new A9 might, when it comes out, might be good, but this one, after I read about it, I had to get it. So that's the first thing. And then secondly, I shoot a lot of games too, like sports events, football games, basketball games, that kind of thing. And you have to have 2 bodies. You don't have to have 2 bodies to shoot sports, but really, if you want to maximize what you're doing, you do. You want a long telephoto lens and then wide angle, so you can cover both, you know, the full gamut, you know, whether you're under the basket or in the stands or whatever, and switch back and forth quickly. And I've had to borrow cameras since I've switched to Sony, because I've only had the A1, because that camera is so expensive. It's $6,500 for just the body, which I have it right here so you can see a comparison of the 2 side by side. And I believe it's worth every penny, but that's very expensive, and so I didn't want to get 2 of them. And so this one is actually, I think, it's a little bit less, I think it's $3,500 maybe is what I got it for at B&H. So that's obviously significantly cheaper, even though there's not much of a fall off. There are some advantages to the A1, but I think this one's gonna have some advantages too. So those are the real 2 reasons that I got it. And as far as the specs go, it's 61 megapixels. This one is around 50. I'm not exactly sure how many, but I know it may be exactly 50. It's got the AI tracking, or the tracking on this is amazing. I've never seen autofocus like the A1 has, the way it is able to detect people's faces and stick with them. But believe it or not, the a7R 5 is supposed to have better tracking with AI. So I'm really anxious to see that, because it's kind of hard to miss, honestly, with the A1. If this is better, I can't wait to test it out and see for myself, because it sounds amazing. Other than that, it's got great video, which I, until this point, have not done video, but now that I'm starting to do these YouTube videos, it's good to have a second body. So if I need to show you stuff with one camera, we can film with the other one. This shoots up to 8K. I probably won't have the need for that, because we'll only do at the most 4K with these videos. But you never know. I would like to start doing some video work for clients. Like I said, I haven't done that to this point, but I've wanted to learn for a long time, and I think now is the time. So it's good to have the capability to do 8K if I need it. So also, it shoots 10 frames a second, which is not as fast as the A1 by any means, which can go up to 30, but if you're a good sports photographer, and I'm not trying to disrespect anybody, but if you're good and you know what you're doing, 10 frames a second is by far, it's enough. You don't need any more than that. 30, honestly, is really overkill. I don't think I've ever used that on that camera. 20 is good, but 10 is totally fine. So it has the capability to shoot sports when I need it to. It's got the ISO capability and the frames per second. All right, let's get to it and open it up and see what we got here. Okay. Got that little attachment on the top, and then the instructions here. Okay, we've got strap, which I probably won't even use because I use a rapid strap. Charger. cord for the charger, USB-C. This is probably the battery, I'm assuming. Yep, battery. And now to the body. Okay. All right. Okay, so first thing I notice is it is obviously very similar to the A1. The shape is pretty much identical. That grip looks about the same. So when I switched to mirrorless, one of the first things that I noticed was they are smaller than DSLR, which is an adjustment. That's one reason why I wanted to show you guys. I did get the battery grip for it too, which I have one that goes on my A1 also. I wanted to compare the bodies before I put that on. So we'll get to that in a second. So just looking at the top of them, they are similar. The main difference I see is on the left side, this wheel that over here, it's got your bracketing button and then your continuous shooting button and timer, and also the focus modes. That is not there. There's nothing over here actually, which I guess you could put a screen there possibly. That would be kind of neat. That's one thing I do miss a little bit about my Nikon cameras is the screen on top where you can see your settings. It's not that big a deal because you can see it on the back of the LCD or you can look in the viewfinder and see it. This wheel is right here where you pick your mode, like manual, shutter priority, aperture priority, that kind of thing. It looks pretty similar. The video modes are underneath now, so there's actually two wheels here. So there's the main one and then the one below it, and there's a button for each. And then, so this is gonna control your settings. And then this wheel over here, I believe is customizable. This one is for exposure compensation on the A1. This one doesn't have any numbers on it, so you can, I'm pretty sure you can set that to whatever you want. So on the A1, you had the custom buttons here, 1 and 2. This, the a7R 5 has the custom 2 and then the recording button. So the custom 1 button is actually on the back where the recording button, so they just switched those. Okay, then your back button focus is obviously in the same place. Pretty much everything looks about the same. So, and then on the front, yeah, there's really nothing there that's new. That's exactly the same. So the biggest difference in these two cameras is going to be the screen. And I've been really, really excited about this. Okay, so you can see with the A1 that the screen does tilt out and it separates from the camera. And you can, one of the things that I loved immediately when I started shooting with it was that because you can take pictures looking at the back of the screen instead of looking through the viewfinder, you can put the camera all the way on the ground and shoot wide angle with athletes and get really dramatic action shots. And so that helped a lot too. That's why I have neck problems actually, is because I had to lay down and like turn my neck to the side, and it was, you know, I actually do have bulging discs in my neck, and I'm pretty sure that's a big reason why. So I wish these had come out earlier, but I've always really liked that, but that's the only way it tilts. So this one, I'm excited to see what it can do here. So you can see that that's not the screen, that's the back of the screen, but yeah, it flips out. So you can shoot and look at the screen off to the side like that if need be. You can flip it around to the front. So if you're filming yourself, you can see yourself, and then I think it pulls out. Yep. Okay, so now, so it'll shut like that with the screen on the back too, so you can flip it around to protect it. It's almost like a built-in screen cover. So you can shoot like that. It also pulls out just like the A1 pulls out, but the biggest drawback of this one is that you can't shoot portrait with it because it doesn't flip out. It's, you know, it's the same thing. You have to kind of lay down to see. But this one is supposed to, let's see, so flip it out, and then, yeah, there we go. So it swivels, so you can shoot like this, portrait mode, and have it on the ground. So that's gonna be extremely handy. I love that. And I like the fact that it pulls out like that too. So you can pretty much move this thing however you want to. That's gonna be extremely handy, especially for athletes when I can put it on the ground like that in portrait mode too. So, because a lot of times with teams, when I do team sports, like, you know, through, you know, high school or middle school or whatever, I'll shoot portrait mode for their individuals instead of horizontal landscape because the parents want their kids to be nice and big in the frame. So that's gonna really help to be able to put that in different areas. So, but the weight and everything else seems to be, it's very similar, probably almost exactly the same. I'm gonna throw this battery grip on real quick. So, Not exactly sure how to take that. There we go. So you got to take the battery cover off. So the reason that I got this battery grip, they're I think $400 maybe, which is not cheap obviously, but it has a slot for 2 batteries. So I already have one charged here so we can turn it on. So that allows you to shoot longer, because these batteries, that's one thing I did miss about my Nikon cameras, was the batteries lasted like 2 or 3 times as long as these things. So this allows you to have 2, so it'll last quite a bit longer. So you just take that cover off, and then you slide it in and then screw this button in right here. So people that think that the mirrorless cameras are too small, they don't feel the same as DSLRs because they're too little. This, I mean, it did bother me a little bit when I first started shooting with them, but this battery grip really helps, because your hand, where without it, you see your pinky hangs off, but here, you know, you've got your whole hand on it. It feels a lot better, a lot more sturdy. And then also another advantage too is you can go vertical with it and still focus and everything, and shoot that way when you go portrait mode. And you can, obviously, if you don't have one, then you have to turn your hand, which is not a big deal, but that's nice to be able to do that. It's a lot more comfortable like that, in my opinion. Yeah, so I got that too. So I'll have one for both now. And I don't really see a scenario when, the only time I might ever take it off is if I need to put the camera down on the ground lower, which that's not a huge difference, but if you're shooting wide, it could make a difference. So also I have the newer Sony 70-200 2.8, and this lens is about a year old. So I know most of you that want to know about it probably have already watched plenty of videos on it. So I wasn't gonna do an unboxing of it, but it's new for me. I have the older version, and I did notice this one is a lot, it's a little bit shorter and it's a lot lighter. I don't know how much, but it's significant. And I have a problem, I don't know if it's the way I hold the camera or run around with it, but my cameras tend to get loose around the collar here, where they attach to the camera. And this, having a lighter lens, I think is gonna really help. So I'm excited to try this out, and it's also supposed to be extremely sharp. This is, I believe, the highest rated 70-200 on the market of any brand that I know of anyway. It got really good reviews and really good ratings from DxO Mark, so I'm excited to try that out. But so I haven't obviously shot with this yet, because this is the first time that I've opened it, but I do have a couple of shoots coming up, a couple athletes that I'm gonna try it out with, and I'm really excited about. So I'm gonna get to use the new lens and the new camera. So be sure that you check it out. Check out the YouTube channel and subscribe. If you like this video, if you got some benefit from it, you know, please share it. And any comments, you know, any questions, feel free to mention those too. But I'm gonna be posting a new video soon, actually using this camera with sample images from the shoot. I've got one specifically coming up that's gonna be really cool. So I'm excited to share what I get with it and talk about its performance. I know it's gonna be awesome. All right, so that about does it, guys. That's the unboxing of my brand new Sony a7R5. I have to think about that every time I say it because I'm so used to Nikon. Okay, make sure that you share this if you got something out of it, like it, subscribe, hit the bell so that you get notified whenever I post new videos. I will have another one soon, like I said, using this camera, so I'm super excited to get that done and get it out to you.